Love, Lisa McFarland. What comes up for you when you're thinking about the word love?
The first thing that comes up is my son. He has taught me probably the most about love as anybody in the world,
Right?
honestly. So my son Zach is about to turn 26, and he has a genetic disorder that renders him very different than the rest of us in terms of his physical body. Um, and because of that, he weighs about 70 pounds as an almost 26-year-old. He is very small and but very robust and strong. And he has not had an easy life because of his physical challenges. He does survive with the use of a feeding tube. He's had multiple surgeries for different ailments, but he is love. He navigates the world with a very honest, very non-judgmental eye and demeanor. And I'll give you a quick example of something that I admire about him. So when I say he just shows up with love, it's like he his smile, like the way that he connects, and we talk about connection as well, but the way that he connects with the world is he doesn't what's the word, like pull punches. He's not manipulative. For example, if something hurts his body, which is every day, he has very bad arthritis. His particularly his lower extremities are a bit malformed, and he still can run and jump and do a lot of activities, but he gets pain from doing them. And instead of saying like, this hurts, I need, ice, or feel bad for me, or fuss over me. He'll say that something hurts, but then he'll either seek comfort himself, like grab a blanket that he might be comforted by, or he just moves on. But it's like he has no sense of trying to control or manipulate others. He certainly has preferences and things he likes and doesn't like, and that's
Yeah.
natural. But the way that um, like when he meets someone for the first time, he's cautiously optimistic, but he doesn't put narratives onto them. He
Yeah.
doesn't put expectations. He's just kind of like curious and
Ah,
guarded, but
it's a good
open.
connector right there. Staying curious.
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great trait for all of us. We lose that as we age because we decide that we know everything.
Oh well. Yeah. There's that.
So yeah, so we can
Right.
really miss out
Right.
when we do that.
Yeah, that is so when there's like those two dichotomies going on, it's like it reminds me of the word oxymoron.
Mm.
When you looking at oxymorons, I was like, oh, he's an oxymoron like me. That was, I love it. Okay. So yeah, nothing else. Like that's it, kids. It's love. And just like there is no such thing as like light and darkness, right? Darkness is just the absence of light. It's only light, right? It's only love. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. There's nothing else. What comes up for you when you think about nothing else?
Um, yeah, exactly what you just said. I mean, I think that's the best way to describe it. Love is there's nothing in my humble experience of life.
Right?
There's not been anything that has come into my ethos or into my life of value that isn't somehow connected to the experience of love. Maybe it's receiving love, maybe it's giving love to a situation or a person or an environment.
Right?
But if it is valuable, if it is something of, impact, it
Right?
has to be connected to love. And that's why there's nothing else. We can dress
Mhm.
it up, but
You can dress it up. And recognition, recognizing love, even love for ourselves. That's huge. How do you see recognition?
I think recognition is essentially the currency that is available to us to feel and give love.
Mm.
Our
Mm.
ability to see ourselves in another and vice versa, that recognition, recognizing the feeling of whether it's being human or having your dreams eviscerated or having them bloom, all of those things we are able to connect with another person because we see ourselves in them and we see their experience showing up in our own life. For example, I do a lot of work with folks who have lost loved ones because I lost two of my children as a very young mom.
Yeah.
And I'm able to connect and recognize in another person who perhaps they lost a spouse or perhaps they lost their health status. The experience of loss is very universal. So even though my unique experience with the circumstances around loss are mine, I can find or notice or recognize in another person what that experience is. And that creates an opportunity for connection and love to arise because I'm really just seeing myself in you. So without that ability to recognize, we aren't we are more on an island instead of being the ocean, right, with other life. Um, because we if we can't recognize it, then we're feeling pretty alone, I think, or at least that's my experience. If I'm not feeling love or loving, then I'm feeling kind of isolated. And that's usually when things like depression and anxiety and
Yeah.
fear start to be the more common way that I approach things.
Yeah, I love the island. Like living on an island is like a fish out of water, So I love the analogy of we're all the ocean and, individual drops and we make up the whole ocean, that kind of connection piece. So is that what you're referring to? Like stepping out of the ocean into this whole island of isolation?
Yeah, because there's no love on the island.
Ooh, it's
If
on
there's no life, there's no love. Yeah.
for that show. Yeah.
No,
Ooh.
I didn't hear you. What did you
Oh,
say?
yeah. I said, there's no love on the island. There's love on the boat. And then I said, love boat. And then I said, do you remember that show?
Yes, I do. I
Gosh,
do.
that's a great
Julie McCoy.
analogy. Island. And there's no love on the
But
island.
if we're in the ocean, like in order to get away from one another, we have to get away from ourselves. If we don't have that water, we die. That in that scenario is, you know, that's the environment where we're meant to thrive, where our
Yeah.
existence as a creature is meant to thrive. So if we move away from that, then um, we can't feel love, and humans are, love is part of our story. I'm
Yeah.
quite sure, at least for
Yeah.
myself.
Seeking what connects us, it keeps us connected. That's for sure. I don't know if you've ever heard of contra dance. I sure hadn't. When I moved to North Carolina, there was a contra dance class, and then the guy that was running it put one together for children, and he had like these 6 foot tall guys and these little tiny kids, all the way down to maybe even younger than like 3. And it was really interesting because in this class, they all laid down and pretended they were logs, and then everybody rolled, and then the whole mass of logs rolled. Nobody got hurt. Everybody just, kind of did their part. And then they had the kids standing around taking one of those great big tall guys, and he just stood in the middle of the circle and he fell, and they passed his
Oh,
body around. Yeah. So that was cool. And then I noticed, well, coming from special, it's like, get back here, you're part of the group. You're teaching social skills or whatever. So I noticed that my friend never said anything when the kids just like wandered away, left the group, and then came back. And it's like, Yeah, as human beings, that's what we need to do. We need to like step away, get regrounded or process or whatever it is we need to do. We step away and then we come back. And a
Mhm.
lot of times as parents or teachers, we're not sensitive to the stepping away, um, or even when we're talking, giving a long pause because people can only take in so many words. And then when you pause, that's why good speakers pause because they're working with people's auditory integration processing. And
Mhm.
otherwise it's like all of a sudden, we're experiencing the Charlie Brown teacher thing, talk, 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 talk. So yeah, I love it. It's love is in the pause. How about that?
Yes, the pause
Cool.
is
Yeah.
very powerful. It makes me think of meditation because that's really why we sit still, is to
Yeah.
allow ourselves to buffer and catch up, from what's gone on since we last sat still.
Yeah, and release
Um,
what's not serving us too.
yes.
That that receiving and that releasing is so important. I love yoga. I took a yoga class with a friend, and um, all of a sudden she said, welcome to advanced yoga. And I'd never done yoga. And I just looked at him like, if looks get killed, he goes, you'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. Actually, I was. My background, I had a lot of dance in my background. I was going to go professional at one point. So I
Wow.
stepped into an advanced yoga class just like that. It was like, wow. And I really enjoyed it. Wasn't familiar with it, and I ended up loving it. So, what comes up for you with that word familiarity?
What comes up is just what we were talking about, which is recognition, because it's the sameness, just even using that word. It's the
Yeah,
ability to see what's happening with us and another person and then be able to relate to that person, even if we never met them until this moment, and even if we never meet them again.
yeah,
But yeah, it's we our brains, are so efficient, and they're looking constantly for familiarity
yeah.
to lock in, to
Familiar is safe.
become secure. So we are very comforted by familiarity, and it's a protective mechanism, I think. Not a
I would
neurosurgeon, although
agree.
I
Yeah,
studied that a little bit. But yeah, I think it's this way of, what do we do if we go into a social situation, especially, we can all relate to this. If we walk into an environment where there are a lot of people, call it a wedding, right? Where
yeah.
we know some of the people, but we definitely don't know all the people. What do? We walk in and we look for the people that we know,
We gravitate.
because we want to
Yeah,
get, oh, okay, now my fight or flight can kind of take a chill. And then
yeah,
another person we see, and then we start to relax a little bit. So
yeah,
familiarity it's important, because it's, again, that ability to identify, to become more relaxed,
yeah.
and to connect on some level, with others.
Familiarity as safety, it's really sad because that's not really who we are. They did an experiment with homeschooled kids, and they took like second graders from a classroom, right, and threw them in with kids of all ages, and they went and found all the second graders. The homeschool
Mm.
kids gravitated to all ages. So yeah, they were
Interesting.
at the level of the soul, if you will, and the other kids had been
Yeah.
made into safety, based on like ego.
And they've been taught these are the rules. And when you don't follow the rules, there's a negative consequence that you don't want. And homeschooled folks don't get entrenched with that dogma on such a regular and intense basis. I mean, even when we put our babies into daycare, they're getting it before they can even talk.
Yeah.
That there's a time to talk and not a time to talk. And they're learning these rules. So I don't know that particular study, but the findings don't sound that surprising,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, it was cool. All right. Thank you so much, Lisa. This is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.